Most people think that as a man gets older, a decline in bedroom performance is simply a fact of life, an unavoidable consequence of the years piling up, something to be accepted with a quiet sigh of resignation. But what if I told you that this belief, as common as it is fundamentally wrong? What if the gradual fading of youthful vigor isn't a sealed fate, but a symptom of a specific, reversible condition that has very little to do with the number on your driver's license? It sounds surprising, I know, almost too good to be true. But the truth is that for a vast majority of men over 60, performance issues are not a problem of age, but a problem of plumbing, specifically, the health of your vascular system and the availability of key nutrients. It's something more and more forward-thinking urologists and functional medicine doctors are beginning to acknowledge. We've been looking at the problem all wrong. The conventional medical system is slowly waking up to a new reality. For decades, the approach has been to treat the symptom, often with a little pill that offers a temporary, chemical solution. But this one-size-fits-all approach can be deeply problematic. It's like patching a leaky pipe with chewing gum instead of fixing the corrosion that caused the leak in the first place. The very things that seem to help in the short term can sometimes mask the underlying issue, allowing it to worsen silently in the background. What once felt like a helping hand can become a crutch, preventing you from ever truly walking on your own 2 feet again. You deserve more than a temporary patch. You deserve a real, lasting solution that addresses the root cause and restores your body's natural vitality from the inside out. In this video, we're going to take a comprehensive look at 8 specific, yet common, mistakes that men over 65 make that unknowingly sabotage their performance and overall vitality. These are the hidden traps that many well-meaning experts and doctors might even overlook, not out of malice, but because they are trained to focus on symptoms, not systems. We'll explore why these approaches are so commonly recommended, the hidden dangers they carry for your long-term health, and most importantly, the powerful, better alternatives rooted in a breakthrough understanding of male physiology. This is about reclaiming what is rightfully yours. You've earned the wisdom and the right to a life filled with passion and confidence, and you deserve to know the truth. Let's begin. Number 1, the symptom-chasing trap. It's perhaps the most common and understandable path taken. When a man first experiences a noticeable change in his performance, the most logical, advertised, and doctor-recommended solution seems to be the little blue pill or its cousins. It's presented as a simple, direct fix. The problem arises, you take a pill, the problem temporarily goes away. It seems perfectly logical. It's a testament to modern medicine's ability to engineer a solution for a specific mechanical failure. For a man dealing with the frustration and even shame that can accompany these issues, a quick, reliable fix feels like a godsend. It restores a sense of normalcy and control in a deeply personal area of life. The transition from a natural, spontaneous function to one that requires planning and a prescription can be jarring, but the pill makes it seem manageable, a simple trade-off for continued intimacy. But here's where the logic begins to break down and the trap is set. We need to understand what these pills actually do, and more importantly, what they don't do. These medications, known as PDE5 inhibitors, work by relaxing the smooth muscles and increasing blood flow to a specific area of the body. They essentially force open the gates to allow more blood to rush in. This is a purely mechanical intervention. The first major risk is that it does absolutely nothing to address the underlying reason the blood flow was poor in the first place. The real problem is almost always a condition called endothelial dysfunction. Think of your blood vessels, all 60,000 miles of them, being lined with a delicate, one-cell-thick layer called the endothelium. A healthy endothelium produces a crucial gas called nitric oxide, which is the body's own natural signal for blood vessels to relax and open up. As we age, and due to factors like diet and lifestyle, the endothelium gets damaged and produces less nitric oxide. The pipes, so to speak, become stiff and narrow. The pill forces them open for a few hours, but the underlying corrosion, the endothelial dysfunction, continues to get worse. This is not just a bedroom issue, it's a full-body issue. Poor endothelial function is the first step towards heart attacks and strokes. So, by only treating the symptom, you could be ignoring a massive warning sign for your cardiovascular health. A second, more immediate risk involves the side effects: headaches, facial flushing, indigestion, and sometimes even vision or hearing problems. These occur because the pill doesn't just work on one area, it affects blood vessels elsewhere in the body. Over time, a third problem emerges: psychological dependency. A man can begin to feel that he is incapable of performing without the pill, eroding his confidence and making intimacy feel clinical and manufactured rather than spontaneous and heartfelt. The very thing he took to feel more connected can end up making him feel less like himself. Let's consider the story of Robert, a 68-year-old retired architect. Robert had always been a man who took pride in his health and his marriage of 42 years. He was sharp, active, and still looked at his wife with the same spark he had in his 20s. When he first noticed a change, he was initially devastated. His doctor, meaning well, quickly wrote him a prescription. Robert's baseline state was one of robust health. He walked 3 miles a day and managed his diet well. The inciting incident was a profound sense of failure and a fear of disappointing his wife, which led him to accept the prescription without question. The process was, at first, a relief. The pill worked as advertised, but the process description gets darker. He started getting splitting headaches about an hour after taking it. He felt a strange pressure behind his eyes. The spontaneity was gone, replaced by a clinical, 4-hour window of opportunity. The negative consequences were both physical and emotional. He told me, "I felt like a machine that needed to be switched on. The romance, the natural build-up, it was all gone. It was just a physical act, and my wife could feel the difference too. She said I seemed distant." The worst part for Robert was the growing realization that he was just patching a hole in a dam that was about to burst. His current state, before he discovered a better way, was one of regret. He felt he had wasted 2 years relying on a chemical crutch while the real problem, his vascular health, was likely deteriorating. This is why a growing number of leading specialists, particularly in the fields of urology and anti-aging medicine, now recommend against making these pills the first and only line of defense. The new understanding is that protocols designed for a quick fix don't serve a man's long-term health. Leading cardiologists now state that erectile dysfunction should be treated as an early manifestation of cardiovascular disease until proven otherwise. The medical understanding is evolving away from symptom management and towards root cause resolution. They are realizing that what happens in the bedroom is a direct reflection of what is happening in the heart and the entire vascular system. This brings us to a more profound, philosophical insight. Reevaluating the quick fix is not an act of neglect. It is an act of profound wisdom and self-respect. It's choosing to be the master of your own body, not a passive consumer of a chemical solution. This connects directly to your core values of independence, long-term vitality, and the dignity of aging with strength, not weakness. It's about having the courage to ask a deeper question: why is this happening? Instead of just, how can I make it stop for tonight? You have the power to choose a path that rebuilds your health from the ground up, one that honors the intricate systems of your body. It's a choice for authentic, lasting vitality over a temporary, artificial boost. And that journey begins by understanding the molecule these pills try so hard to imitate. This brings us to our second point. Number 2, the forgotten miracle molecule mistake. We live in a world saturated with health information. We're told to watch our cholesterol, monitor our blood pressure, and count our calories. But what if I told you that one of the most critical factors for male vitality, especially after 60, is a molecule most men have never even heard of? It's called nitric oxide. It seems illogical that something so important could be so overlooked. The reason is simple. You can't easily measure it in a standard blood test, and there isn't a blockbuster prescription drug designed to directly replace it, so it doesn't get the same marketing attention. Doctors are trained to look for problems they can solve with the tools they have, which are primarily pharmaceuticals. So, a gradual, systemic decline in a natural bodily gas flies under the radar. It's easier to address the downstream effect, poor blood flow, with a pill than to address the upstream cause, the body's inability to produce its own vasodilator. The scientific explanation is both simple and profound. Nitric oxide, or NO, is a gas that acts as a powerful signaling molecule in your body. Its primary job is to tell the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium, to relax. This relaxation is called vasodilation, and it's the key to healthy blood flow. When your blood vessels are relaxed and open, blood can move freely, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body, from your heart and brain all the way to the extremities. Here's the critical problem. Research has shown that by the time you're 40, your body's natural N-O production has likely dropped by 50%. By age 60, it can be down by as much as 85%. This is a catastrophic decline. Without sufficient N-O, your blood vessels become stiffer and narrower. This leads to 3 or 4 specific, devastating problems. First, your blood pressure starts to creep up as your heart has to work harder to push blood through these constricted pipes. Second, the quality of your erections is directly tied to N-O-driven blood flow. No N-O, no show. It's that simple. Third, this lack of blood flow starves your muscles and brain of oxygen, leading to physical fatigue and mental fog. And fourth, the damaged endothelium becomes sticky, making it a prime location for plaque to build up, dramatically increasing your risk for a heart attack or stroke. The solution, therefore, isn't to artificially force the blood vessels open for a few hours, but to give your body the raw materials it needs to produce its own nitric oxide again. This is where the first key component of our breakthrough drink comes in: L-Citrulline. L-Citrulline is an amino acid that your body converts directly into L-Arginine, which is the direct precursor to nitric oxide. Taking L-Citrulline is like giving your body's N-O factories the exact raw material they've been missing. Let me tell you about David, a 70-year-old former salesman from Chicago. David was a man who lived on his charisma. He was a storyteller, a joke teller, and the life of every party. He was always confident and full of energy. His baseline state was one of effortless charm and vitality, even in his late 60s. The inciting incident for him wasn't a failure in the bedroom, but a quiet conversation with his wife, Sarah. She said, "David, it's not just about us. You seem tired all the time. You've lost your spark." That hit him harder than any physical issue. He realized she was right. His energy was gone. This prompted him to start researching, not for a performance pill, but for the root cause of his fatigue. The process description involved him spending weeks online, digging through medical journals and forums. He stumbled upon the 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine, which was awarded for the discovery of nitric oxide's role as a signaling molecule in the cardiovascular system. A light bulb went off. The negative consequences of his N-O decline were systemic: low energy, mental fog, rising blood pressure, and, yes, inconsistent performance. It all clicked into place. His current state, after this realization, was one of focused determination. He regretted not knowing this information a decade earlier. He felt that the entire medical system had failed to inform him about the most fundamental aspect of his own circulatory health. This lines up perfectly with what top-tier medical experts are now saying. The very researchers who won the Nobel Prize for discovering nitric oxide have stated that N-O is critical for preventing and even reversing heart disease. Progressive cardiologists are now calling endothelial health the canary in the coal mine for a man's overall health. They argue that the body provides this early warning sign in the bedroom for a reason. It's a chance to act before a more catastrophic cardiovascular event occurs. Protocols designed for younger men, or for just managing symptoms, completely miss this crucial point. The evolving medical understanding is that restoring natural nitric oxide production is one of the single most powerful things a man over 60 can do for his health. This leads to a deeper, more empowering philosophical insight. Choosing to actively manage and boost your nitric oxide levels is not just a health tweak. It's an act of tending to the very foundation of your body's energy and communication grid. It's like ensuring the power lines are clear and the signals are strong throughout your entire kingdom. This connects to the values of foresight and stewardship. You are not just reacting to problems. You are wisely anticipating and preventing them. This is the ultimate expression of autonomy, taking control of a fundamental biological process that governs your vitality. It's the difference between being a passenger in your own aging process and being the pilot, charting a course for a vibrant and energetic future. And this is just the beginning of how we rebuild your system from the inside out. Moving forward, we encounter the next common pitfall. Number 3, the testosterone tunnel vision. For decades, The narrative around male aging and performance has been dominated by a single hormone, testosterone. If a man feels his energy, drive, or performance waning, the immediate assumption, both by him and often by his doctor, is low T. It seems logical because testosterone is undeniably the primary male hormone, responsible for muscle mass, bone density, libido, and a host of other masculine traits. The marketing from pharmaceutical companies and low-T clinics has been incredibly effective, positioning testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, as the fountain of youth for aging men. The appeal is powerful. A simple shot, gel, or patch could restore the hormone of your youth. For a man feeling less than his best, this is an incredibly seductive promise. However, focusing solely on testosterone is a critical mistake, a form of medical tunnel vision that can lead to significant problems. Here's the scientific reality. While testosterone is crucial for libido, the desire for intimacy, it has a much less direct role in the mechanics of an erection itself. You can have the testosterone levels of a 25-year-old, but if your blood vessels are clogged and you can't produce enough nitric oxide, that desire will go nowhere. It's like having a powerful engine, testosterone, in a car with 4 flat tires. Poor blood flow. The engine can roar all it wants, but the car isn't going to move. This is where the risks come in. First, embarking on TRT without addressing the foundational issue of vascular health is, once again, masking a critical problem. You might feel better for a while, but the underlying cardiovascular disease can continue to progress silently. Second, introducing external testosterone can have complex and sometimes dangerous side effects. Your body is a finely tuned hormonal orchestra. When you blast it with an external hormone, it can throw other systems out of balance. It can lead to things like polycythemia, which is an overproduction of red blood cells, thickening your blood and increasing the risk of clots and strokes. It can also potentially accelerate the growth of pre-existing prostate cancers, which is why careful monitoring is essential. A third issue is that it shuts down your body's own natural production of testosterone. Once you start TRT, your brain gets a signal that there's plenty of testosterone in the system, so it tells the testes to stop working. This can lead to testicular atrophy and a lifelong dependency on the therapy. You are essentially outsourcing a critical bodily function, one that you may be able to support and restore naturally. Let's talk about Michael, a 66-year-old retired teacher and avid gardener. Michael was a gentle, thoughtful man who had always been in tune with his body. He loved his life, his wife, and his garden. His baseline state was one of contentment and stable health. The inciting incident was a combination of feeling more tired after a day of yard work and seeing a persuasive late-night commercial for a low-T center. He convinced himself this was the one and only reason for his flagging energy. The process description is a cautionary tale. He went to a clinic, had his levels tested, and was told they were on the low end of normal. He was immediately started on weekly injections. For the first few months, he felt a surge of energy. But then the negative consequences began. His blood pressure, which had always been perfect, started to climb. He became more irritable and impatient, which was completely out of character. His doctor noted his red blood cell count was dangerously high, and he had to start donating blood every 8 weeks just to manage it. The worst part for him was the loss of his own natural rhythm. He felt like his mood and energy were tied to his injection schedule. His current state, before he changed course, was one of deep regret. He felt he'd been sold a bill of goods, a simple solution for a complex issue, and had put his health at risk by ignoring the more fundamental aspects of his well-being. This is why many leading endocrinologists and anti-aging specialists are now urging caution. They stress that TRT has its place for men with clinically diagnosed hypogonadism, a true medical condition, but it should not be the first resort for age-related decline. The evolving medical understanding is that we must first optimize all the other systems, especially vascular health, nutrition, and stress management, before considering hormonal intervention. They recommend supporting the body's own ability to produce testosterone naturally through targeted nutrients like zinc and magnesium, and by reducing inflammation and cortisol, which are known testosterone killers. This is a more holistic and sustainable approach. This leads us to a powerful philosophical reframe. Questioning that testosterone is everything narrative is an act of intellectual independence. It's about seeing your body as a complex, interconnected system, not a simple machine with one lever to pull. It connects to the value of holistic well-being over a narrow, reductionist view of health. You are not just a collection of hormone levels. You are a whole person. True vitality comes from harmony within the entire system, not from artificially boosting one single component at the expense of others. It's the wisdom to know that true strength is built from the foundation up, not painted on the surface. This wisdom allows us to look even deeper at an invisible force that silently sabotages everything. This brings us to our fourth point, a truly insidious problem. Number 4, the silent inflammation sabotage. When we think of inflammation, we usually picture something obvious, the redness and swelling around a cut, or the painful joints of arthritis. This is acute inflammation, the body's healthy and necessary response to injury. But there's another, far more dangerous type of inflammation that most people are completely unaware of. It's called chronic, low-grade inflammation. It's a silent, smoldering fire inside your body that, over years and decades, systematically damages your organs and tissues. It seems illogical that something so destructive could go unnoticed, but that's its nature. It doesn't send loud pain signals. Instead, it manifests as fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, and, crucially, as a direct assault on your vascular system. Because it's a systemic issue without a single, clear symptom, conventional medicine often misses it, instead chasing the individual problems it creates, like high blood pressure or high cholesterol, without ever asking what's causing them all. The scientific explanation reveals just how devastating this internal fire can be. Chronic inflammation is the body's confused and prolonged attempt to fight off perceived threats, which in the modern world are often things like processed foods, chronic stress, environmental toxins, and lack of sleep. This constant state of alert floods your body with inflammatory molecules called cytokines. These cytokines are like tiny little grenades going off in your bloodstream, and one of their primary targets is the delicate endothelium, that inner lining of your blood vessels we've discussed. Here are the specific problems this causes. First, inflammation is a direct cause of endothelial dysfunction. It cripples the endothelium's ability to produce nitric oxide, leading to the exact blood flow problems we've been talking about. In fact, inflammation and lack of NO create a vicious cycle. Inflammation reduces NO, and reduced NO leads to more inflammation. Second, this inflammation makes the walls of your arteries sticky. This allows cholesterol, which is normally just traveling through, to get trapped in the artery wall, forming the plaque that leads to atherosclerosis or hardening of the arteries. Third, inflammation directly impacts hormone balance. It increases the activity of an enzyme called aromatase, which converts your precious testosterone into estrogen, further diminishing your masculine vitality. And fourth, it puts a massive strain on your entire system, consuming energy and nutrients that should be used for repair and regeneration, leaving you feeling chronically tired and run down. To fight this fire, we need powerful, natural anti-inflammatories. This is where two more key ingredients of our breakthrough drink come into play: a highly bioavailable form of turmeric, known as curcumin, and potent ginger extract. These compounds are two of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory agents on the planet, working to quench that internal fire at its source. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. It's a long journey, but understanding these points is the key to true transformation. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our future content. Your support helps us continue creating good information to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Let's look at the story of George, a 72-year-old retired fire captain. George was a man built of resilience. He was tough, disciplined, and had faced real fire his whole life. His baseline state was one of rugged health, though he carried the aches and pains of a physically demanding career. The inciting incident for him was a routine physical where his doctor noted that all his inflammatory markers, like C-reactive protein, were creeping up. The doctor suggested it was just part of aging and to take some ibuprofen. But George, having fought fires his whole life, understood the danger of a fire you can't see. The process description involved him rejecting the simple, take a painkiller advice. He started researching the link between chronic inflammation and all the issues he was starting to feel: stiffness, fatigue, and yes, a noticeable drop in his personal life. The negative consequences of this silent fire were clear to him now. It wasn't just one thing, it was everything. The inflammation was the common enemy behind his joint pain, his tiredness, and the damage to his circulation that was affecting his performance. He felt that his body was in a constant state of emergency. His current state, after this epiphany, was one of tactical focus. He regretted treating his body like a machine that could just run until it broke. He now saw it as a complex ecosystem that needed to be protected from this invisible, internal threat. This perspective is now being echoed by the most advanced medical institutions. The Cleveland Clinic and Harvard Medical School have published extensive research identifying chronic inflammation as the root cause of nearly every major age-related disease, including heart disease, diabetes, dementia, and cancer. The old model of chasing cholesterol is being replaced by the new model of quenching inflammation. The evolving medical understanding is that if you can control inflammation, you can control the aging process itself. Protocols that ignore inflammation are no longer considered state-of-the-art. This brings us to a crucial philosophical point. Recognizing and actively combating chronic inflammation is the ultimate act of preventative care and personal stewardship. It's about having the wisdom to fight the invisible battles before they become visible crises. This connects to the value of being proactive rather than reactive. It's the difference between being a firefighter, constantly putting out blazes, and being a fire marshal, meticulously removing the fire hazards before they can ever ignite. By choosing to address inflammation through powerful, natural means, you are making a profound statement that you value your long-term health and are committed to creating an internal environment of peace and resilience, not one of constant, low-grade war. This internal peace is the foundation upon which all other aspects of health are built. From the fire within, we now turn to a related, but distinct, threat. Number 5, the oxidative stress assault. This concept might sound technical or abstract, but it's as real and as damaging as rust on steel. Oxidative stress is a fundamental part of the aging process, and it's a key reason why our bodies break down over time. It seems logical to just accept this as inevitable. We see it everywhere in nature. Metal rusts, fruit turns brown. It's easy to believe that our bodies are no different, and that this cellular rusting is just something we have to live with. This resignation is a mistake because, while we can't stop the process entirely, we can dramatically slow it down and mitigate its damage, especially in the areas that matter most for male performance. Let's dive into the science in a simple way. Every second, your body is performing trillions of chemical reactions to create energy. A natural byproduct of this energy production is the creation of unstable molecules called free radicals. You can think of free radicals as tiny, hyperactive thieves that bounce around inside your cells, stealing electrons from healthy molecules. When a healthy molecule loses an electron, it becomes damaged or oxidized. This is oxidative stress. A little bit is normal, and your body has a built-in defense system of antioxidants to neutralize these free radicals. The problem is that as we age, and due to exposure to pollution, poor diet, and stress, the production of free radicals skyrockets, overwhelming our natural antioxidant defenses. This leads to several specific and devastating problems for a man over 60. First, oxidative stress is a primary attacker of the endothelium. These free radicals directly damage that delicate lining of your blood vessels, further crippling your ability to produce nitric oxide. It's like sandblasting the inside of your pipes, making them rough and prone to damage. Second, oxidative stress damages the LDL cholesterol particles in your blood. Healthy LDL is not a problem, but oxidized LDL is toxic. It's the oxidized LDL that gets trapped in the artery walls, forming the core of dangerous plaque. Third, it damages the DNA within your cells, accelerating the aging process and increasing the risk of mutations. And fourth, it depletes the very nutrients your body needs to function, creating a downward spiral of declining health. To combat this relentless assault, your body needs a constant supply of powerful antioxidants. This is where we introduce two more pillars of our breakthrough formula: pomegranate extract, packed with potent punicalagins, and pine bark extract, rich in compounds called proanthocyanidins. These are antioxidant superstars, working to patrol your bloodstream, neutralize free radicals, and protect your delicate vascular system from this rusting process. Consider the story of Frank, a 75-year-old retired history professor. Frank was a man of the mind, sharp and intellectually curious, who had spent his life in libraries and lecture halls. His baseline state was one of excellent mental acuity, but gradually declining physical stamina. The inciting incident for him was reading a book about the biology of aging. He was fascinated and horrified by the chapter on oxidative stress. He visualized it as his body's library of life being slowly burned, page by page, by these free radicals. The process description for Frank was one of intense academic pursuit. He dove into the research on antioxidants, not just vitamins C and E, but the more powerful polyphenol found in specific plant extracts. He learned how different antioxidants work in different parts of the body. The negative consequences of unchecked oxidative stress became crystal clear to him. He realized it was the underlying reason for the brain fog he sometimes felt, the fatigue in his muscles, and the slow, steady decline in his circulation that was impacting his quality of life in every way, including his marriage. His current state, after this intellectual journey, was one of empowerment. He regretted thinking of his body as separate from his mind. He now understood that protecting his cells from oxidative damage was as important as reading a new book to keep his mind sharp. This understanding is at the forefront of anti-aging medicine. Major research bodies, like the National Institute on Aging, have dedicated significant resources to understanding the role of oxidative stress in age-related decline. The old advice was just to eat your fruits and vegetables. The new, evolving medical understanding is far more specific. It's about targeting the most powerful, high-impact antioxidants and ensuring they are delivered in a form the body can actually use. Experts now talk about redox balance, the delicate equilibrium between free radicals and antioxidants, as a key biomarker of healthy aging. Protocols that don't actively address and mitigate oxidative stress are now seen as incomplete. This leads to a profound philosophical realization. Actively defending your body against oxidative stress is an act of preserving your own history and future. It's like being the careful curator of a priceless museum, your own body. You are protecting your most valuable assets from the slow, relentless decay of time. This connects to the deep value of legacy and preservation. You are not just trying to live longer. You are trying to live better, with all your faculties intact, with your physical structure sound and resilient. It's a choice to fight against the entropy of the universe, to maintain order and function within your own being for as long as possible. This is not vanity. It is a profound act of self-respect and a commitment to living a life of undiminished quality. Now, let's connect this internal environment to what you use to fuel it. Number 6. The outdated diet dogma. For nearly half a century, men of a certain generation were given a very clear set of dietary instructions. Fear fat. We were told that a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet was the key to a healthy heart and a slim waistline. Saturated fat and cholesterol were demonized, and we were encouraged to replace butter with margarine, whole milk with skim, and red meat with pasta and bread. It seemed so logical, so scientifically sound at the time. The idea was simple. Fat in the diet equals fat in the arteries. This message was pushed by major health organizations and became ingrained in our collective consciousness. To this day, many men in their 60s and 70s meticulously avoid fat, believing they're doing the right thing for their health. But here is where this well-intentioned advice becomes a dangerous trap for male vitality. The scientific understanding of nutrition has undergone a revolution, and we now know that the low-fat dogma was a catastrophic mistake. Here's why. First and foremost, your body requires dietary fat, including saturated fat and cholesterol, to produce its most important hormones. Testosterone, the very hormone of masculinity, is synthesized from cholesterol. When you starve your body of these essential building blocks, your hormone production inevitably suffers. You are literally depriving your body of the raw materials it needs to maintain your masculine identity. Second, the foods that replaced healthy fats were often highly processed carbohydrates and sugary snacks. These foods spike your blood sugar and insulin levels, which is a primary driver of the chronic inflammation we just discussed. So, in an attempt to protect your heart, the low-fat diet was actually promoting the internal fire that hardens your arteries. Third, many essential vitamins, like A, D, E, and K, are fat-soluble. This means your body cannot absorb them without the presence of dietary fat. You could be eating a nutrient-rich salad, but if you use a fat-free dressing, you are missing out on many of its key benefits. And fourth, healthy fats are crucial for brain health. Your brain is nearly 60% fat. Diets low in healthy fats are now linked to cognitive decline and a higher risk of neurodegenerative diseases. While our breakthrough drink is not a food, its components work in synergy with a proper diet. The anti-inflammatories like turmeric and ginger help to undo the damage caused by high-carb diets, while the N-O boosters and antioxidants help to repair the vascular system that was harmed by the lack of essential fatty acids. Let me share the story of Arthur, a 69-year-old retired accountant. Arthur was a man of numbers and rules. He followed the low-fat guidelines to the letter for over 30 years. His baseline state was one of discipline. He was lean, but he also felt perpetually weak and unsatisfied. The inciting incident was a dinner party where his son, a nutritionist, gently challenged his father's healthy choices, explaining the new science of fats. Arthur was initially defensive. He had built his health identity around this dogma. The process description involved Arthur reluctantly agreeing to a 30-day experiment. He started reintroducing healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts, and whole eggs. He was terrified he was clogging his arteries with every bite. The negative consequences he had feared never materialized. Instead, the opposite happened. After decades of feeling weak and having a non-existent libido, he started to feel a flicker of his old self. He realized the healthy diet he had so strictly followed was the very thing that had been slowly emasculating him for 30 years. His current state was one of anger and liberation. He was angry at the experts who had led him astray for so long, but he was liberated by the new energy and vitality he was feeling. He regretted the decades of lost strength and passion. This shift in understanding is now mainstream among cutting-edge nutritionists and physicians. The focus has shifted from the amount of fat to the type of fat. Trans fats are out, but healthy, natural fats from whole foods are in. Medical authorities who once championed low-fat diets are now admitting the evidence was weak and the advice was flawed. The evolving medical understanding is that a diet that balances healthy proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates from vegetables is the optimal human diet, especially for hormonal health and controlling inflammation. Protocols based on the old food pyramid are now considered dangerously outdated. This leads us to a philosophical insight about dogma and truth. Choosing to abandon outdated dietary rules in favor of new evidence is an act of intellectual courage and humility. It's the willingness to admit that what you once held as truth may have been wrong. This connects to the value of adaptability and lifelong learning. Your health journey is not static. It requires you to constantly update your knowledge and be willing to change course. It's the wisdom to trust your own body's response over the rigid proclamations of outdated authority. By fueling your body correctly, you are not just eating. You are making a conscious choice to provide the building blocks for strength, energy, and the very hormones that define your vitality. This brings us logically to our next point, which is the direct consequence of all the factors we've discussed. Number 7. The circulation resignation. It's one of the most common refrains of aging. My circulation just isn't what it used to be. Cold hands and feet, legs that get tired quickly, a feeling of slowness. These are all accepted as normal, unavoidable parts of getting older. It seems logical to simply resign yourself to it. After all, if the body is a machine, it's natural for the pumps and pipes to get weaker over time. This sense of resignation is a quiet surrender, a belief that your body's delivery system is in a state of irreversible decline. Men buy thicker socks and accept a more sedentary life, believing there is nothing to be done. But this resignation is a profound mistake, because poor circulation is not a disease in itself. It is a symptom of all the underlying issues we've been uncovering, and it is absolutely something you can influence and improve. The scientific explanation is really a summary of our journey so far. Poor circulation is the direct result of endothelial dysfunction, the lack of nitric oxide, chronic inflammation, and oxidative stress. Imagine your vascular system as a network of superhighways. Nitric oxide is the traffic controller keeping all the lanes open. Inflammation is like a constant 50-car pileup, blocking traffic. And oxidative stress is the corrosion that creates potholes and cracks in the road surface. When you combine these problems, your circulatory system grinds to a halt. The specific consequences are severe. First, every muscle and organ in your body is starved of oxygen and nutrients. This is why you feel fatigued and weak. Your muscles simply don't have the fuel to perform. Second, waste products and toxins are not efficiently removed, leading to a buildup that can cause pain, stiffness, and that feeling of being clogged up. Third, and most critically for our topic, healthy circulation is the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for erectile function. An erection is purely a vascular event. It is the rapid inflow and trapping of blood. If your circulation is poor, the mechanics are simply impossible. This is not a psychological issue or a testosterone issue at its core. It is a blood flow issue. The components of our breakthrough drink: the L-Citrulline to boost the turmeric and ginger to fight inflammation, and the pomegranate and pine bark extracts to combat oxidative stress, are all designed to work together to restore the health of this entire circulatory highway. If you're finding this comprehensive approach valuable and seeing how all these pieces connect, let me know by commenting vitality below. It helps me know we're on the right track. Let's consider the story of Samuel, a 78-year-old retired postal worker. Samuel had spent 40 years walking a mail route, a man in constant motion. His baseline state was one of incredible physical endurance. But in retirement, he had become increasingly sedentary. The inciting incident was an attempt to go on a hike with his grandson. After just half a mile, his calves were cramping so badly he had to turn back. He was embarrassed and felt incredibly old. He told his doctor, who simply said, "Well, Sam, you're 78. That's what happens." He resigned himself to this fate. The process description was one of slow decline. He stopped going for long walks, worried about the pain. He wore compression socks all day. The negative consequences were a shrinking world. His life became confined to his house and his garden. He felt his body was failing him, and this sense of physical limitation deeply affected his mood and his relationship with his wife. He had completely given up on any form of intimacy, assuming his body was simply shut down. His current state, before he learned about these root causes, was one of passive acceptance. He regretted losing the active life he once loved and felt that his golden years were turning out to be gray and stagnant. This is why vascular specialists and cardiologists are now reframing the conversation. They are moving away from the fatalistic view of circulatory decline. They now see it as a dynamic process that can be improved at any age. The evolving medical understanding is that by aggressively targeting endothelial health, inflammation, and oxidative stress, you can significantly improve blood flow throughout the entire body. The old protocol was to manage symptoms with blood thinners or surgery. The new protocol is to rebuild the health of the vessels themselves from the inside out, using targeted nutrition and lifestyle changes. This leads to a powerful philosophical insight. Refusing to accept poor circulation is an act of rebellion against the tyranny of low expectations. It's a declaration that you are not finished, that your body is not a relic, but a living, adaptable organism. This connects to the core value of freedom, the freedom to move, to explore, to participate fully in life, and to be intimate with your partner. True freedom is not just political or financial, it is physical. It is the ability to trust your body to carry you where you want to go. By taking active steps to restore your circulation, you are not just improving your health, you are reclaiming your world and all the possibilities within it. Finally, we arrive at the capstone of this entire system, the element that connects the mind to the body. Number 8, the cortisol curse. In our relentless focus on the physical mechanics, the hormones, the blood vessels, the inflammation, it's easy to overlook the most powerful organ in the body, the brain. We often treat stress, anxiety, and mental state as separate from our physical health. It seems logical to separate them. If there's a performance problem, we look for a physical cause. If we feel stressed, we might see a therapist or try to relax. We put the problems in different boxes. But this separation is an illusion. and ignoring the biochemical impact of your mental state is the final, and perhaps most critical, mistake a man can make in his quest for renewed vitality. The scientific explanation is centered on a single hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. In a healthy response, it gives you a short-term burst of energy to deal with a threat, the classic fight or flight response. The problem is that in modern life, many of us live in a state of chronic, low-grade stress. Financial worries, relationship issues, health concerns, and the 24-hour news cycle keep the stress signals constantly firing. This leads to perpetually elevated cortisol levels, and this is a catastrophe for male performance. Here's how. First, cortisol is the direct enemy of nitric oxide. When cortisol is high, it constricts your blood vessels, the exact opposite of what you need. It's your body's way of diverting blood to your major muscles for fight or flight, and away from non-essential functions like digestion and procreation. You cannot be in a state of fight or flight and rest and digest, or rest and perform, at the same time. They are mutually exclusive hormonal states. Second, cortisol is a testosterone killer. Cortisol and testosterone have an inverse relationship. When cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down. Your body literally catabolizes, or breaks down, testosterone to produce more cortisol when under chronic stress. Third, high cortisol levels contribute to the chronic inflammation and oxidative stress we've already discussed, creating a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of damage. And fourth, it creates performance anxiety. A man worries about his ability to perform, which raises his cortisol, which then physically prevents him from performing, which in turn causes more worry for the next time. It's a brutal psychological trap with a real, physical mechanism. To break this curse, we need to manage cortisol. This is where the final key ingredient of our breakthrough drink comes in: ashwagandha, a powerful adaptogenic herb that has been shown in numerous studies to significantly lower cortisol levels, reduce stress, and promote a state of calm resilience. Let's look at the story of Richard, a 65-year-old who had just sold his successful business. Richard was a classic Type A personality, a worrier, and a perfectionist. His baseline state was one of high-functioning anxiety. The inciting incident was his retirement. He thought he would finally relax, but he found he couldn't turn his brain off. He was constantly worrying about the stock market, his health, and his new lack of purpose. The process description was a spiral into stress. His sleep suffered. He felt on edge all the time. He and his wife had planned to travel and enjoy their intimacy, but he found that in the bedroom, his mind was racing, and his body simply would not cooperate. The negative consequences were profound. The more he failed, the more he worried. The more he worried, the more he failed. He was convinced he had a serious physical problem, which only added to his stress. His doctor offered him an anti-anxiety medication, but he didn't want to feel numb. His current state was one of complete frustration. He felt trapped in his own head, his mind actively sabotaging his body and his relationship. He regretted a lifetime of prioritizing work over his own mental peace. This mind-body connection is now a major focus in progressive medicine. Institutions like the Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital are dedicated to studying and teaching the techniques that leverage the mind to heal the body. The evolving medical understanding is that you cannot separate psychological stress from physiological health. They are two sides of the same coin. Any protocol for male vitality that does not include a strategy for stress and cortisol management is fundamentally incomplete. Leading physicians now recognize that helping a patient lower their cortisol is as important as helping them lower their blood pressure. This brings us to our final and perhaps most important philosophical insight. Learning to consciously manage your stress and your internal state is the ultimate expression of mastery. It is the recognition that you are the conductor of your own hormonal orchestra. This connects to the deepest values of peace, presence, and emotional sovereignty. It's the wisdom to understand that the storms in your mind create real, physical tempests in your body. By choosing to cultivate a state of calm, you are not being passive. You are engaging in the most active and powerful form of self-care. It is the final piece of the puzzle, uniting the physical and the psychological, creating a state of holistic health where your mind and body are finally working together in perfect harmony, allowing for the spontaneous, joyful, and confident intimacy you deserve. Getting older doesn't mean accepting decline. It doesn't mean your best days are behind you, or that passion is a memory. If anything, it's the time when your wisdom should be your greatest asset, allowing you to see through the superficial fixes and address the true foundations of your health. It is the time to have the courage to question the systems and the standard advice that may not have your best interests at heart. It's the courage to do less of what is harmful and more of what is healing, not out of neglect, but out of a deeper understanding of how your body truly works. This journey we've taken through these 8 points is about redefining what healthcare should be at this stage of life. It should be a conversation, not a conveyor belt of tests and prescriptions. It should be a partnership focused on honoring your health, not just chasing disease. It's about being deliberate in your choices, like nourishing your body with the specific building blocks it needs, rather than being reactive to the symptoms of neglect. This is about choosing to build a resilient foundation for the years to come, one that supports not just your physical performance, but your overall vitality, your energy, and your zest for life itself. I encourage you to take this knowledge and use it. Start a new kind of conversation with your doctor. Ask them about nitric oxide, about chronic inflammation, about the role of cortisol. Ask them if a proposed test or medication will truly change your long-term outcome, or if it's just managing a number on a piece of paper. Begin to weigh the benefits of any intervention against its burdens, not just the financial cost, but the cost to your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. Your comfort and your quality of life are not secondary concerns. They are the entire point. You have earned the right to this wisdom. You have earned the right to live life on your own terms, guided by a deep respect for your own body and its incredible capacity to heal and regenerate when given what it truly needs. This is your time, not for resignation, but for renewal, not for masking symptoms, but for mastering your health, not for accepting limits, but for creating new and vibrant possibilities. It is the time to live a life that is not just longer, but deeper, richer, and more passionately engaged in every moment.